Understanding the different visa options is crucial when planning to join family members in the UK. The spouse visa and dependent visa are two primary routes for families seeking to live together in the UK. Each visa type has its specific requirements, rights, and application processes. However, many people get confused between these visa categories and sometimes apply for the wrong one, leading to visa rejection. If you find yourself in this situation, make sure to watch today's podcast. Armel and I will explore the details of both the spouse visa and the dependent visa to clear up any confusion. We will cover everything from start to finish, including the actual meaning of these visa categories, who can apply, what documents are needed, costs, timelines, and most important, financial requirements. So, if this topic is relevant to you, stay tuned until the end. But before we do a deep dive, a quick introduction about myself. My name is Sarika and I have been living in the UK for the past 15 years. I'm currently working as a lead business analyst at one of the largest tour operators in Europe. Without any further delay, let's invite Amel and get started with today's topic. Hi Amel, welcome to Your Knowledge Buddy. And if you don't mind, can you please introduce yourself once again to our audience, please?
Hi Sarika, I hope you all are doing well. So my name is Mohammed Amel. My company name is Mac25 London. We are an immigration law firm based in London, Canary Wharf. And I'm an ex-international student as well, as always, just for you guys.
Yes, and that's why Amel is here to help you guys. So today's topic is spouse visa and dependent visa. So this is one of the topic where I have seen when people reach out to me asking queries, they always say, hey, it's a spouse visa, but they're actually talking about dependent visa. And there are times when people say about dependent visa, but I realize it's spouse visa. So today we will try to clarify what is the difference between two. So let's start with what is spouse visa and what is the eligibility criteria to apply for a spouse visa.
So Sarika, as the name suggests, spouse visa is something which allows any individual to get settled in the UK who's either married or in a civil partnership with a British or settled person, which leads to settlement scheme in the next 5 years. They are eligible for indefinite leave to remain, and without any further ado, they do not need to wait for 1 year of spending ILR time, and they can apply for the British passport.
Right. So anyone who is here on a ILR, it means their partner, if they are not with them now, if say they are in India or any part of the world, they can bring them on spouse visa.
Exactly.
And not dependent visa.
Exactly. So let me clarify. There are a few things which we need to understand when it comes to spouse visa specifically for UK. So the British person could be either have a British citizenship, have settlement in the name of indefinite leave to remain. They could be from EU settled status.
Right.
They could also have pre-settled status in the UK. So they're allowed to marry anyone in the world, have a genuine relationship. Please have a genuine relationship and come to the UK and get settled on that specific route. But making sure that there are few requirements such as making sure you have got proper accommodation requirements, English language requirements, which we'll talk in length, and financial requirement, the most important part of spousal visa, I would say.
Okay, so it's clear to me now.
Okay, let's unpack this. The UK immigration system is bracing for what some are calling a massive shakeup in 2025, and it's already causing ripples.
Yeah, definitely. Millions of people could be affected, facing real uncertainty about their future here.
Right, and you're listening because you need to get a handle on these changes, and you need it fast, but, thoroughly. That's our mission today.
And what's fascinating, or maybe worrying, depending on your perspective, is just the sheer scale of the potential impact. We're talking about real lives here.
Absolutely. Significant policy shifts.
And that big hike in the money needed for spouse visas. Well, it signals a clear shift, doesn't it? Prioritizing perhaps economic self-sufficiency in families.
Which could really hit lower-income Brits wanting to bring their partners over.
Yeah.
That seems to be a core anxiety flagged in that Peace Travels video.
Exactly. It fuels a lot of the worry.
So for this deep dive, we're zeroing in on the latest UK immigration rules, specifically spouse and dependent visas.
Good focus.
And we've got two key sources on our desk. First,
breaking news: the UK is facing a massive immigration shake-up in 2025, and it's already changing lives. Millions of immigrants are now at risk of being forced to leave the country. What's behind these drastic new rules, and how are people reacting? In today's special report, we are breaking it all down. So what is changing in this year? The UK government has rolled out a brand new points-based immigration system. Think of it like a scoring chart. The more skills, education, income, and English fluency you have, the higher your chances of staying. But if you don't score enough points, you're out. This system also makes it much harder for immigrants to bring over family members. Only close relatives of UK citizens or long-term residents can apply, and even then, they need to meet tough financial requirements. Who gets to stay in the UK then after all this immigration session? Skilled worker visas have been tightened too. Now, only highly specialized workers in areas like healthcare, tech, and engineering are being prioritized. People who previously qualified under more flexible rules are now finding themselves left behind.
That video from Peace Travels and Job X. Millions of immigrants at risk. The UK's shocking new immigration rules explained. 2025 gives that broad picture.
Right, the wider impact, the anxieties.
Then we have UK Immigration Alert. Spouse versus dependent visa updates from your knowledge, buddy. That one dives into the specifics, the details of these visa types.
Which is great because you need both, don't you? The big picture and the practical details.
Yeah, it means we can see the forest and the trees, hopefully, understand the policy direction, but also what it means for actual people, right? Now, both sources touch on the point-based system. Think of it like a scoring chart, yeah.
Yeah, based on skills, education, income, English level.
And the core idea, as Peace Travels highlighted, is pretty stark. Score enough points, you might stay. Don't score enough,
you might have to leave. And crucially for today, it seems to be getting tougher to bring family over through this system.
which ties into the bigger picture, controlling net migration, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's part of that broader government aim, which your knowledge buddies sort of mentioned in the context of those spouse visa financial changes.
Okay, and that brings us neatly to a core confusion flagged by your knowledge buddy. Spouse versus dependent visas, people mix them up.
All the time, apparently. Which can lead to, well, major headaches. Big problems down the line.
So our mission for the rest of this deep dive, clarify these two. What are they, what do you need, and what are these recent changes, especially the money side?
Yeah, that clarity is absolutely essential. Wrong visa, wrong info. It means delays, rejections, loads of stress.
Okay, let's start by really digging into the spouse visa then. What exactly is it?
So a spouse visa, as your knowledge buddy learned about, it's for people married to or in a civil partnership with someone who's British.
Or settled here.
Or settled, yeah. So someone with indefinite leave to remain ILR or EU settled status, or even pre-settled status. The partner has a permanent or near permanent UK status.
Got it. And this visa, it can lead to something more permanent for the applicant too, right? A path to settlement.
Yeah. Yes, that's a really key aspect. After 5 years on the spouse visa, typically you can apply for ILR, that permanent residency.
5 years. And then citizenship.
Yeah, and what's interesting, your knowledge buddy pointed out, is once you get ILR via the spouse route, you don't usually have that mandatory 1-year wait before applying for British citizenship.
Oh, okay. That's quite a big difference from some other routes.
It is a significant advantage.
So what are the crucial boxes you need to tick? Your knowledge buddy mentioned a few key requirements.
Several big ones. First, obviously the relationship has to be genuine, more than just the certificate.
Right, you have to prove it's real.
Exactly. Then accommodation, you need somewhere suitable to live without needing public funds. And English language skills.
Okay, let's break down the English language part. What level are we talking about? Is it complicated?
It's tiered. Your knowledge buddy explained it well. For the first application, it's usually A1 level. Pretty basic.
Okay.
Then when you extend your visa, it typically goes up to A2. And finally, for ILR, you need to show B1 level competence.
A1, A2, B1. Got it. Is there any way around doing multiple tests?
Well, yeah, if you have a UK degree, that usually covers it. Or if you pass a specific English test, an ISC exam, at B1 level, that can satisfy all the requirements in one go.
Ah, okay. That's useful to know. A potential shortcut. Now, let's tackle the big one. Money. Financial requirements, this has caused a lot of noise.
Absolutely. This is where it gets complicated and, as Peace Travels highlighted, caused a lot of anxiety recently.
So what happened?
Okay, so under the previous government, the Conservatives, the minimum income you needed to sponsor a spouse was set to jump. A lot.
How much?
It went from £18,600, which it had been for ages, up to £29,000 in April 2024.
Wow, that's a big jump already.
And there were plans for more increases to £34,500 later in 2024, and then £38,700 in early 2025.
That's nearly double the original amount. But hang on, your knowledge buddy mentioned a crucial update with the new Labour government.
Yes, exactly. After they took power, July 2025 timeframe, they put those further planned increases, the ones of 34,500 pounds and 38,700 pounds, on hold. They're reviewing them.
On hold for review. So where does that leave things now?
Well, right now the requirement is 29,000 pounds, but we're waiting for an update expected around June 2025 to see what the review decides. So it's uncertain. As your knowledge buddy said, it can either go this way or that way.
So limbo. If you're applying now, you're working with 29,000 pounds, but the future. TBC.
Pretty much. And for those British citizens earning just over that old 18,600 pound threshold, that jump to 29,000 pounds is a massive hurdle already.
Yeah, you can see why there's anxiety. Now, really important point. Your knowledge buddy is stressed. These financial changes, the 29K, the review,
Yeah.
this is only for spouse visas.
Yes. Crucially, only spouse visas, not dependent visas. We'll get to their finances, but they work differently.
Okay, vital distinction. The spouse visa money situation is up in the air, but dependent rules are separate. So, thinking about applying, what sort of documents does someone need for a spouse visa, especially if they're applying from outside the UK?
Your knowledge buddy listed quite a few, usually a TB test certificate if you're from certain countries.
Standard stuff.
Yep. Then solid proof you meet the financial requirement. That could be the UK sponsor's income slips, bank statements, or maybe joint income if applying from inside the UK.
Makes sense. And the marriage certificate, obviously.
Obviously. But, and this is key, both sources really hit this. The certificate alone isn't enough. You have to show the relationship is genuine and subsisting, ongoing.
Right, the prove it's real challenge again. What does that look like in practice? What kind of evidence works?
Think about stuff that shows you share a life. Flight tickets from visiting each other. Holiday photos together. Maybe joint bank accounts, even if one's abroad. Bills in joint names, if possible. Communication records, WhatsApp logs, emails, especially if you've lived apart.
So building a picture, a story of the relationship.
Exactly. Your knowledge buddy specifically mentioned things like flight tickets, photos, medical certificates sometimes. It's about showing that continuous commitment.
Got it. It's more than just paperwork. Okay, let's switch gears. Dependent visas. Who are these for?
Right, dependent visas. These are for family members, usually partners and children of people who are already in the UK on certain point-based system visas.
Like skilled workers.
Yeah, skilled workers, students, but only those on specific research courses now. Startup visa holders, innovator founders, people here temporarily for work or study, basically.
And the big difference regarding, say, getting citizenship later.
Crucial difference. Dependent visas do not independently lead to citizenship. The dependent status is generally tied to the main visa holder. If the main applicant leaves, the dependent usually has to leave too.
So the main applicant isn't British or settled. That's the fundamental split. Your knowledge buddy highlighted between spouse and dependent.
Precisely. The sponsor status is the key differentiator.
Now, finances for dependents. We know it's different from the spouse visa drama. How does it work?
It's generally less strict, operates differently. Usually there isn't a minimum salary the dependent needs to meet.
Okay, so what's the requirement then?
It often hinges on the main applicant's sponsor, their employer or university. In the Certificate of Sponsorship, the COS, the sponsor can certify that they'll cover the dependent's maintenance costs for the first month if needed.
Ah, certified maintenance.
Exactly. If maintenance is certified on the COS, then the dependent typically doesn't need to show any specific funds themselves.
And if it's not certified, which your knowledge buddy said was rare, but still.
If not certified, then the dependent needs to show a certain amount of money. It's a relatively small amount, specified in the rules held in their bank account for 28 days straight, ending just before the application date.
Okay, so a small savings requirement in that case. But usually the sponsor certification covers it.
That's generally how it works, yeah. Simplifies things.
What about documents for a dependent visa application? Again, say from outside the UK.
Similar start. TB test certificate if required. The main thing is proving the relationship to the main visa holder.
Especially if not married.
Yes, particularly if not married or in a civil partnership. Your knowledge buddy mentioned needing evidence of living together like a couple for the last 2 years.
2 years cohabitation. What kind of proof?
Things like tenancy agreements with both names, utility bills to the same address, bank statements showing the same address, maybe national ID cards, holiday photos, flight bookings together also help build the picture.
And your knowledge buddy made a point about documents sometimes being mainly in one name.
Yeah, that's a practical point. In some countries, it's common for things like leases or bills to be primarily in one partner's name, often the man's. so you might need a mix of documents to show the link.
Good to know. Flexibility is needed there.
Yeah.
Now, a huge difference. Your Knowledge Buddy highlighted. English language.
Yes. Big one. There is no English language requirement for dependent visa applicants.
Not at all.
None. Unlike the spouse visa route with its A1, A2, B1 levels, dependents don't need to pass an English test.
That's a major takeaway.
Okay.
Practicalities, processing times, applying from within the UK for a spouse visa.
Your Knowledge Buddy gave estimates. Standard service is roughly 8 weeks.
8 weeks standard. Is there a faster option?
There isn't a standard priority, but there is a super priority service available for spouse visas from within the UK.
Super priority. How fast is that?
Decision within 1 working day, apparently, if the case is straightforward.
1 day. Wow. Presumably costs a lot more.
Oh, definitely a significant extra fee for that speed.
But your Knowledge Buddy also mentioned a complication. A longer route.
Yes, the 10-year route. If you apply for a spouse visa but don't quite meet all requirements, especially the financial one perhaps, but there are reasons you should still be allowed to stay, you might get put on a 10-year path to settlement instead of the usual 5-year one.
And those applications take longer to process.
Much longer, yes. Maybe 8 or 9 months for a decision in those cases. It's a different, slower track.
Okay, a long wait in that scenario. What about dependent visa processing inside the UK?
Also around 8 weeks typically. And for dependents, there are usually options for both standard and super priority services as well.
Got it. So similar timelines generally, barring that 10-year spouse visa route. Okay, the bit nobody likes. Rejections. Your Knowledge Buddy shared common reasons spouse visas get refused.
Yeah, number 1 seems to be incorrect financial documents. Salary slips, not matching bank transfers, maybe missing documents.
Okay, anecdote you mentioned.
Exactly. That client where a bonus hadn't quite landed in the bank when the statement was printed. Tiny detail, huge stress. It has to be perfect.
What else trips people up?
Surprisingly often, just basic confusion between dependent and spouse visas. People even using the wrong forms when extending their stay.
Oh no. Does that reset their clock?
It can, unfortunately. If you apply on the wrong form, it can be treated as a new application, potentially resetting the time you've accrued towards settlement. Really important to get the visa type right.
Okay, that's a serious error. Anything else?
Failure to disclose previous immigration history. This is a big one. Past visa refusals, any deportations, even just overstaying a previous visa.
You have to declare it.
Absolutely. Your Knowledge Buddy really stressed this. Hiding it looks like deception, and that can lead to long bans, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, even 10 years for deliberate deception. Always be upfront.
Honesty is the best policy, clearly. Any other common mistakes?
Submitting expired documents. English test certificates have expiry dates. Payslips need to be recent, usually from the last 6 months. Using old documents can lead to refusal.
Right, check those dates. Are there general immigration issues that crop up, affecting both types, perhaps?
Yeah, your Knowledge Buddy mentioned a couple. For students who maybe didn't finish their course, perhaps low attendance led to their visa being cut short. That must be declared in later applications, like a spouse visa. Sometimes it can still be granted, maybe on discretionary grounds, but you have to declare it.
Okay. What about someone who was here on a work visa, got laid off, and left?
If they were, say, a skilled worker, made redundant, left the UK, and are now applying for a dependent visa from outside, they don't necessarily need to detail the redundancy itself, but they do need to declare all their past UK visits accurately.
And overstaying, even a short period.
Must be declared. As we said, potential bans depend on how long you overstayed and why, but hiding it is worse.
Honesty, accuracy, getting the visa type right seems crucial. So, wrapping up the advice, what's the single most important takeaway from the expert insights?
I think the key thing, echoed strongly by your Knowledge Buddy, is evidence of the genuine relationship. Beyond the minimum requirements, gather as much proof as possible that your relationship is real and ongoing.
For both spouse and dependent visas.
Yes, especially joint documents if you have them, utility bills, tenancy agreements, bank accounts in both names. Build a really strong case showing your shared life. Don't just aim for the minimum.
Okay, so let's try and summarize. We've untangled spouse visas for partners of Brits or settled people, often a 5-year route to ILR, maybe quicker citizenship from dependent visas tied to temporary visa holders like skilled workers, no independent path to settlement, and crucially, no English test.
Right. And we've flagged the big uncertainty right now around the spouse visa financial requirement, currently £29,000, but under review, while dependent visa finances work differently, often relying on sponsor certification.
And the absolute must-dos, Prove your relationship is genuine with lots of evidence. Use the correct application form. Be meticulous with financial documents. And always disclose your full immigration history. Hopefully you, our listener, feel a bit clearer now on how to navigate this.
Yeah, hopefully less likely to fall into those common traps.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Considering this ongoing review of the spouse visa finances and the quite different rules for dependent visas, what does this tell us maybe about the UK's priorities when it comes to family immigration right now?
And how might these rules keep changing? It's definitely worth thinking about the human stories behind these policies, isn't it? The real world impact.